Hey guys, Palsteron here, and today let's talk about the second season of Torchlight Infinite. So last week when Lake of Kalandra came out in Path of Exile, it was my time to step away a little bit from the game. I kind of lost my passion. I did not really like the patch 3.19, and that is where I kind of got into Torchlight Infinite. And immediately I was incredibly surprised by how deep the game actually is for what it looks like, but I'm not going to go through all that again. I actually did that last week. Is it worth playing? This is basically my review. I will leave the video down in the description. People trying out this game has been very interesting so far because most of the people I know come from Diablo, Path of Exile, right? Sort of this gritty style of ARPG. And some of them I kind of have to force into trying the game. And then they're kind of all like, wait, this game is actually really, really good. To a point where now when there's a new Torchlight 2 season, like now, season 2, people are actually reaching out to me if I'm going to play the new season, and a lot of people in my community are also joining. But this video is basically going to be about season 2 of Torchlight Infinite and where I see this game going. Do I have high hopes for it? Did they change? Did they improve on stuff? Is it now time for you to jump in? Also, thank you to XD for sponsoring this video. If you want to try out the game for free, the link is down in the description. Now, this is probably the best time to jump into this game because Maxroll just pushed out their beginner guides and their in general just content for the game, so it's going to take you through the game quite easily. Now we have Tenki, Mike, Milky, Extra, and Zen M who contributed here. I was not a contributor on the Path of Exile team, like I said, but they did great work over the last few months. So if you want to get a beginner guide, you just click on whatever character looks cool to you. You pick a guide, you go into it, and you kind of go from there. One thing I will say is that you can also just experiment, pick up a build later, because until level 80, all the decisions can be reversed. You don't need any order of regrets, like for example in PoE. That comes after level 80, so experiment away. Now let's talk about, for me, the 5 biggest changes that they made in Season 2. I'm also at the end going to talk a little bit about the league mechanic, and I'm going to talk about that. If you're only here for that, jump ahead in the time stamps. But basically, we'll kick this off with the overlay map. Now, I know this might not be a big deal for a lot of you guys, but for PoE players, or at least for, I think, a big chunk of it, having the overlay map back is just really, really huge. Now you can scale this as normal in the screen settings, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, minimap opacity, permanent minimap scaling. It is absolutely awesome. So now we can kind of play it like this. As a PoE head, I just got used to the overlay map so much that having to actually look in the corner up here did take away quite a bit of enjoyment for me personally, so nice that they fixed this. Number 2, the brightness settings are just absolutely fabulous now. This game has very vivid colors, and the problem is when you have something like flame pillars that you put all over the screen, like with my new build right here, you don't really see anything that's going on, which is a shame because this game actually has very well telegraphed bosses. However, what they did is they changed it. So now you actually have a slider for this, which I think is in graphics. Yeah, skill effect brightness, you can now put all the way down. So now it's going to look more like this. Also, just as an aside, if you still don't like how this looks, sometimes you can play around a little bit with the effect quality. Sometimes putting it to low will actually make it look worse. Sometimes it will make it look way better. Sometimes medium is the right one. So definitely try around with that. Number 3, the trade house changes. And we can basically summarize this real quickly. Now, trade house in general, I'm going to talk about a little bit more later. But what they did do is they gave you a highlight function. So if you see down here, there's a new button called highlight prices. So what you can basically do now here is, for example, you can say, I only want a price up to a maximum of 250 flame elementium, for example. You can put in whatever currency you want. You confirm, and now only the ones that are in your price category are going to show up. And let's talk about the tax system. Now, this is obviously very, very sexy topic. Everybody loves to do their taxes. But in general, I was a little bit lukewarm on this until I actually saw it play out in game. And I really like what they did here. Let's just do it real quick here. So 1 out of 8 of any currency that you get from selling stuff will be taken from the game as tax. Now, on face value, you would say that's a nerf, right? That kind of sucks. This just takes flame elementium out of the economy, and you need that to craft. So overall, getting good items will be harder. Well, not exactly. Because what they did is they also introduced a new form of currency, which is called tax vouchers. Now, what these tax vouchers do is every bit of tax that the game takes of you, any of that, can be returned if you use a tax voucher. So for example, in total, this whole league, the game took 210 flame elementiums from me, and I've already turned in 205 tax vouchers. So in reality, I did not pay any taxes. So I can do that even more. I still have like 40 or something left. Now, what is this for? Well, it's super clever because the only way you get these tax vouchers is from the battle pass, which means playing the game, the free battle pass, or from certain festivals or certain like stuff that you have to complete where you also have to play the game. And what that results into is a system where if you play the game, you get all your taxes basically back. I've not paid anything in tax, and I've been playing non-stop. I've made a lot of Flame Elementium. So this is basically anti-RMT and anti-flipper immediately. If you're somebody who's just like waiting for people to misprice their items and then put it up again, well, you're going to be taxed because most flippers are not just playing the game always. People who actively play the game and just sell what they make, they will basically not even feel this tax at all. Now, one thing I want to mention, because a lot of people haven't seen this, once again, the Spring Festival is out right now. In total, I think it was 10, 20. You can get around about 200 of these vouchers just from the Spring Festival, and the other ones are on the free Battle Pass as well. So what I would really urge you to do is always go here and click in the Spring Festival, complete these quests here, because then the next pops up and you can get up to 200 of your Flame Elementium back. Now, one thing this also does is after a certain time, let's say we're now 2 weeks in, right? Now, maybe I'm not going to get any tax vouchers anymore because the whole theme is over. I already got all the quest rewards. Well, it still takes Flame Elementium out of the economy at some point, because at that point, there's too much in the economy. It's like, for example, Chaos getting completely worthless. And that kind of doesn't happen if you take a little bit out of the economy. Now, how this is going to work out, I don't know. It isn't week 2 yet or week 3 or whatever, how this is going to affect crafting. I'm not really sure. I just love the fact what they did here, actually incentivizing people to play the game instead of just flipping or doing RMT. Now, before I go into some of the things I do not like about the game currently, I want to talk about the league mechanic, because the league mechanic with this league is actually awesome. I like it a lot more than even Season 1, and I already like that one. And basically what this is it's called Black Sail. It's pirate themed, and what it is a weird combination if you're a PoE player of like Metamorph and Alva, and basically it's about making your own reward chest. So you see up here, there's like a 0 out of 10. So which basically means that I have to kill a certain amount of mobs. And this is sort of like Metamorph, where these are like the parts. So for example, if I kill a mob, yeah, as you can see here, it fills up. These are basically these violet things on the map right here. I'm going to skip over this real quickly. And what happens is that each of these will give you an option at the end to sort of basically get a reward. So let's do that real quick. Let's get to the boss. And once we kill the boss, so usually there is going to be around about 6 to 9 of these mobs, and then the boss is the last one. After you kill the boss, which is what I did here, you will get this sort of monolith. And if you press on it, you click on it, you get all of these options. So we killed all the 10 mobs, so you get a total of 10 options. Now, this basically is about making your chest. So depending on what kind of loot I want, do I want Flame Elementium, do I want fish for certain uniques, I can do so by choosing whatever I want here. For example, I can go for this Whisper of Wealth node. This will basically give me Fluorescent Memories, Flame Elementium, or Embers. I can go to Whispers of Armament, which will be around getting unique loot or getting the new relics or the new memories. And there's also going to be Whispers of Wonder, which is basically sort of like a substitute to both of these to basically give you more quantity, give you a chance to duplicate certain items. There's also other things. If you don't really care about the chest that much, you can get instant rewards. For example, this one says 60% chance that you get an additional piece of legendary gear right now, but then whatever you get for the chest will be random, but it's best that I just show you right here. So after I do this, basically these dudes come up. And just to tell you right now, this is tier 7, so the fact that it's easy is because of that. It's just for a showcase. Now, after you did that, you'll see in the upper corner, now here it's time to build your chest. There is your reward, and there's different difficulties. So for example, this is a common reward, so it won't be that good. Chains for Embers to appear among the Voidseed treasure. There you can get extra hero relics, or for example, which I'm going to take here, 8% chance for Flame Fuel to be upgraded. So for example, if you would drop Flame Sand, it can be upgraded to Flame Elementium. Now, the reward chest is made in 6 steps. This is the first one you can see right here. After I pick this first reward, it will show up on the side, and then I have to do this 5 more times. And after that, I will face a boss. Now, after you kill the boss, you get this big chest right here. This is the best drop I've had so far. I also had one where I dropped a very expensive unique that sold for 50 FE. But in terms of raw currency, this gave me 24 Flame Elementiums. If I had to give you any tips on the league mechanic, I would say stick to one thing. For example, if you start out with something good for Embers, then stick with Embers. Same with Fluorescent Memories, same with Flame Fuel. In general, the most consistent one for me has been Flame Elementium. So basically, whenever you see something with Flame Fuel, pick it. You're going to be mostly fine. There's a little bit more delicacy to that, but maybe we'll go over that in a different video. Now, that being said, if you want to go for the big ticket items, you'll have to go for armaments and just go for legendaries, and you can hit big. You can hit something that's worth like 500 plus flame elementiums. However, it is extremely inconsistent. And at the end here, we have hero, relics, and memories. This is the newest edition. Now, the UI here got changed. I think it looks a lot cleaner now, a lot better, so kudos for that. Basically, what you have now is sort of a relic right here. Now, a relic is basically an extremely strong item that gives you certain character-specific traits. So you can basically see this as your 11th item on top of like your body, armor, your weapon, and whatnot. It gives you special effects. Now, a few things about this. It has an engram. Now, the engram basically determines how many memories you can put in. Memories are also items that give you certain effects. More on that in a second. But after that, it is character specific. So for example, this one can only be equipped by Ice and Fire Fusion Gemma. And these are just incredibly strong and give you a ton of options. I will not go over everything. There's uniques that are actually busted. There's certain unique memories that are worth over 3,000 Flame Elementium. That's how crazy they are. That's all I'm going to say. You can figure it out yourself. Now, when it comes to memories, these are basically just small like gemstones that you can put into this relic. Basically, you can see it like that. For example, since I'm stacking intelligence, I have sort of this intelligence for every unfinished creation. So if I have 3 unfinished creations in here, it triples the effectiveness of each of them. If you play Path of Exile, you know this from Grand Spectrum, but there's also rare ones or magic ones, I should say. And these basically just have random rewards. It can go from resistances to damage to crit to movement speed to very specific unique abilities, up to legendary mods that can sell for multiple flame elementiums. Like for example, here I got straight up +1 projectile, or right here I got 25% of the player's max life added to the base minions. This is basically a combo piece, but in total, all I can say, these are basically completely build revamping and build defining. Now, what do I think about these? I think this is a great addition overall. It makes the heroes stand out more. It makes them more unique, but also play into their strengths. And there is a ton of very interesting abilities that you can use to make completely new builds. For example, most of the builds that I'm going to put out over the next 1 or 2 weeks, I don't know how long I'm going to play it, are going to revolve around certain relics and certain memories. And I really hope they keep this in the game and it's not just a season mechanic, because it does drop from the season mechanic, but I really hope they consider keeping this in the game, or maybe that's how they want to do it anyways. Now, as for things I did not like in this league, if you look over my thoughts video that I made last league, I basically addressed a lot of the things that got basically fixed this patch, which I'm really happy about. They take feedback seriously. I even wrote them, stuff like that. They asked me for feedback, so that's awesome. However, there's 2 things that I just cannot get around. Now, the auction house QL we're going to talk about in a second, but the thing that aggravates me the most, that I just cannot get by, is the English translation. And don't get me wrong, on a surface level, it's cool, right? All of these mods are kind of consistent, it's all good, but once we get into stuff like hero talents, once we get into unique items, stuff like that, stuff that has very particular interactions, it gets very wishy-washy. And I could give you examples for days, but I will start with a few. So first up, Sage's Disciple. This is a unique that I wanted to build my first build around. Turns out it doesn't work like it says it does, straight up. And this is not like some kind of miscommunication or something. It straight up used the wrong wording for something it does not do. So as you can see here, +8 sentries that can be deployed at a time. If you don't know, this is basically like totems, for example, in Path of Exile. So that would mean, right, if I can only place down 1 sentry at a time, well, after I get this, I click once and I put down 9 at a time, which does not happen. Why do I know this? It's because that is literally what this node does right here, and it has the exact same wording. However, turns out what the staff actually does is it gives you maximum totems, which makes it so this happens right here. And I can put down like 30 totems at once. And you might think, wow, so it's actually better than you thought, but that's not the problem. The issue is that I tried to build around a unique and it did not work like I thought it did. I had to completely change my tune as to what I wanted to do. The second thing is certain hero talents straight up don't tell you the whole picture. So last league, I wanted to play a cast on crit character, and I wanted to build it around Thea with focus blessings, all that good jazz. So I wanted to get the quadruple damage. It's the big payoff at the end. Turns out it doesn't work for triggered skills. You'll only figure it out once you're already in the game, already invested into the character. So it's just very annoying. So don't get me wrong, the most cookie cutter builds work exactly like you think they do. But once you go into more like interesting interactions, this will happen to you over and over and over on the English client. There's also the issue of increased and more damage being kind of like intermingled, even though it should be more damage. This node gives multi-strikes more damage. Does it say that here? No. How do I know that it gives me more damage? It's because that was the wording last league. And on top of that, if we go to advanced right here and we search for it, well, if I click on the tooltip quick enhancement, now it says multi-strike deals 55% more damage with each strike. And then we also have the English translation of the patch notes, which isn't even very readable. Now, I'm probably one of the biggest nerds when it comes to stuff like patch notes, numerical changes. I want to know it all, right? I want to get it into my brain, sure. But even I couldn't get through this, which just kind of feeds into the problem of I would like to do funky stuff in this game, but I never really get to because I don't know what certain things actually do. And it feels like most Chinese players do not have the same problem because I've asked some people who actually speak Chinese and they said that the translations are pretty damn good. So I think there's just a lot of things lost in translations. And if they want this game to be taken seriously in the Western Hemisphere as well, this has to be on point. I already talked about this last time, so I really hope this is something that they're going to address in the future. Other than that, Auction House, this was like my big beef currently, but Auction House quality of life is something I can live with. There's still some problems. The highlighting function is very nice, but there should be more. Now, when it comes to the auction house, the most frustrating things is search still. For example, if I want some kind of agility blessing, chaotic ending, right? If I type in agility with uppercase, it will find all of these mods that I can then search for. And if I type in lowercase, it will not find it. Now, you might think this is a nitpick, but you will figure out that sometimes it's not uppercase when it should be uppercase, and that goes back to translation because that also translates into some of the problems on the items and how you can search certain mods. Also, a feature that could search by price, as always, is very, very nice. Now, for certain uniques that are not that rare, you can scroll through in like a few pages. It's going to be fine, but there's certain other items where there's literally 20, 30 pages to scroll through, which can be quite annoying. The highlighting does help, but I hope this is something they are actively working on. But what are my conclusions and my thoughts on Torchlight Infinite as a whole after seeing it now for basically 2 leagues? Currently, I have around about 410 hours in the game. I could say that it is highly promising. This game has a highly addictive gameplay loop already. It already has 2 very solid leagues. It has a lot of content for how old it is. It is still technically in beta, and it's going to come out in like 6 months as a full release. They have been able to harness what makes ARPGs great and what makes them fun and put it into a game, and it gives you a lot of quality of life. Once again, watch my review about it. Auto loot, the way you interact with certain obstacles, it's just absolutely awesome. Explosions, it's way more fast-paced than most PoE builds or something like Diablo 3. Now, when people ask me, will they like this game? Should I put some time into this? Sure, it's free to play, but that doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice your time, right? I can tell you this. If you're a softcore player, for example, on Path of Exile, you really like fast-paced gameplay, you like making funky and interesting builds with certain chase items that you can actually get. It's not like Mage Blood level or Headhunter level, and you always have the kind of speed. Like, for example, the end game in this game is sort of like having a Headhunter and a Mage Blood and kind of having it for free. Then I would say this game will be for you. But if you're a hardcore player that likes more like slow progression, meaningful, impactful combat, and that is what you focus on rather than builds or like just crashing and exploding mobs, then this game might not be for you. I will put a disclaimer here though. This is very, very basic stuff. I know a lot of hardcore players who are like that and they still like the game, and a few softcore players who do not like this game. So it's just something that you will have to figure out. You can also check me out on twitch.tv/Palsteron. I will be streaming it over the last week at least, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see. One thing that I will say that is very obvious from how this game is designed is it puts fun before pretentiousness. This game is not obscure just for the fact of being obscure, other than the English translation issues that I have. For example, if we go to corruption, you don't have to go to the wiki and look up what the corruptions do. You can literally click on here. It is going to tell you what it can do, how the percentage chance is. This is the percentage chance. This is what it's going to do. Same down here. If you want to know where an item is from, you can actually look it up. You can hover over an item. I think it should work here as well. Let's, for example, take chaotic ending. This is a boss drop. You go down here, a drop source, and it's going to tell you, has a chance of dropping after defeating the Watcher, which is the boss that this one dropped from. This game has auto loot, basically making it so you don't have to click 1,000 times every map. It basically gives you that quality of life that otherwise would basically staunch your progression and would basically increase the playtime that you have. At this point here, especially after also having a very, very solid core, is why I think this game It's just always going to have a niche as long as it stays on track, and which is why I'm going to continue covering this game every 3 months whenever there is a new league out. These are basically my thoughts about Season 2. So far, I absolutely love it. I'll push out some videos. If you're interested, you can try out the game. Once again, it's going to be down in the description. And yeah. But that's it for the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe. As always, a huge shout out to my Twitch subscribers and my Patreons. I couldn't do videos like this without you. Thank you so much for the support. And yeah, I'm basically done with my league starter. I didn't really make a video about this. I didn't really feel like it was too special. In general, we'll now make a blaster. I'm probably going to make a video about that one. If it turns out good, I'm going to make some farming tips. If you're just starting out this game, then once again, check out the Maxroll branch that the guys in the team just released. But with that being said, since I still don't have a slogan, see you next time.